For this fall season of football games, fireside get-togethers, Halloween, Friendsgiving, and Thanksgiving, I've put together 10 amazing, inexpensive appetizers, sides, and desserts. It is my belief that you can eat well, even on a budget. You don't need to spend a ton of money to get those belly-warming and heartwarming meals to share with friends and family. These are meals that are just like that. I have things that are not going to break the bank, and they're gonna taste delicious.
This one is perfect for any fall event, really. We're gonna be making a pumpkin cheese ball. I like this because it's super budget friendly. You just want 2 to 4 8-ounce blocks of cream cheese. So I'm making a really big one because we're gonna go to a party with a few people and I want there to be lots. But you can very easily just make 1 times the recipe, and that is just gonna be 1 8-ounce block of cream cheese. Then you want 2 cups of shredded cheddar. You do want the orange cheddar because we're gonna use some on the outside too. And you really need to shred this yourself. The store-bought stuff is not gonna do in this case. There are lots of options for this. I'm just gonna use about a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of fresh ground pepper, and about 3 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese. But you could very easily do a lot of different things with this. You could do like a jalapeno one with fresh jalapenos or pickled jalapenos. You could do bacon. Bacon cheddar is so good. You could put scallions in here. We're just gonna give this a good mix. You do want to check the flavor on this. Just make sure you put enough garlic powder, salt, whatever you put in there, you want it to, have that flavor. I'm making mine pretty mild because this is a kid's party and I think they're gonna really enjoy the pumpkin, but I don't wanna kind of overwhelm them with too much stuff that they might not like. So this isn't gonna be the cleanest thing in the world, but you wanna make it into a ball so your hands are gonna get sticky. Got all of my shredded cheese here. My hands are still a mess. You just want to roll your pumpkin in your shredded cheese. You need to wrap your pumpkin up tightly in plastic wrap. And then the key to this is just the cooking twine. So you want to wrap it up almost like a present, except we're going to put some extra spots in here and really just kind of make sure that you get those pumpkin lines in here. Give these all a little pull at the bottom to really make sure that these lines are going to show up. The tighter the better. And then you want to refrigerate this for 4 hours at least. You can do it overnight. And then this was super easy to bring to the party. You just snag that right out of the refrigerator. I brought a cutting board and some crackers with me. I removed the kitchen string and the cling wrap, and I had a beautiful looking pumpkin. But what makes it perfect is you just take the top to a pepper. Doesn't matter what color the pepper is. You just take the top off and then you put it on top of the pumpkin, and it has a little stem. So it looks adorable. Everybody was complimenting this. They're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you made that. That's amazing. And I'm like, it's simple. It's something simple, but really, really cute. So I recommend that you give it a shot, and it's not super expensive, and it's just something that makes everybody feel good. And we're going to stay on the cute appetizer train with these mini cheese pies. They look like pumpkin pies. Even better, they come in at 3 or 4 ingredients depending on what type of crackers or how many crackers you use. And it's so simple. You want a triangle shaped cracker and then kind of a square shaped cracker, some cream cheese, and some orange cheddar cheese. You can kind of slice this however thin that you like it. I'm just slicing I think it's like an 8-ounce block in half. You could probably do this in thirds too, and the cheese would just be like a little bit thinner. So kind of your choice on how you want it to look. And then I'm just lining up the crackers as kind of a pattern to see how many slices or how many triangles I can get out of my cheese. You can do this whichever way is easier for you and kind of how you work in an artistic manner. So for me, I started off with mini club crackers, but they weren't exactly the right size for what I needed. So I ended up grabbing some wheat thins, and then I cut them in half, and then I cut another one actually into quarters. And I'm gonna kind of glue those on with the cream cheese to the back to make it look like the pie crust. So I just put some cream cheese on my cracker and then just place the cheese right on top so it makes it stick. I also think that a boursin or like a garlic herb cheese would taste delicious on this. So I didn't have that, but if you have that, you can totally use it. And that's just a great like little, like a glue, right? To make it stick. And then just put that same piece on the back of the cheese there. And then I just placed one of the long pieces of the wheat thin and then one of the half pieces of the wheat thin, and it makes this perfect little crust. And does that not look like a pie or what, guys? It's so cute. I'm obsessed. And it's such an easy thing. Like, this is a great last minute. I mean, yes, it takes a little bit of time to kind of put it together, but there's no cooking involved. You don't need to put it in an oven when you get to someone's house. You don't have to worry about timing. It's going to be ready, and it's going to be so cute. Everyone's going to be like, oh my goodness, who made these? Like, they're incredible. And you'll be able to raise your hand and be like, yep, I put those together because I'm awesome. And then right at the top, you just want to use like a little tiny tip to make what looks like whipped cream. And it's really cream cheese. And just make sure your cream cheese is a little bit warm, because I had a little bit of trouble with mine just because it was a little bit cold. But I was able to get them out, and look how adorable. I mean, they're really, really forgiving as far as making it look like whipped cream. For this next one, we're going to make 3 ingredient brie bites. It doesn't get much easier than this, but I'm just loving these low ingredient recipes for the holidays because we don't have a lot of time to just be putting together a million ingredients. You want to be able to get something on the table quick. So you want 1 puff pastry sheet, 1 brie, or you even really need like half of this. That's how much I needed to use for 1 puff pastry sheet. And then I'm using fig preserves, but you can use strawberry jam, raspberry jam, any type of jam that you like or you have, go ahead and use that. Make sure that your puff pastry is defrosted, and then I'm going to use a pizza cutter, but you can just use a regular knife too, and I'm going to cut it in kind of like I think I did like 4x5. It just ended up working out that way, but I think 4x4 might be a more reasonable way to do it. And it really doesn't matter. These are super forgiving, so they don't need to be like the perfect size. And then I just have a mini muffin tin here, and I'm going to place these in the bottom of the tin. I guess it's actually not a tin, it's a silicone. So we'll place them in the bottom of the silicone. And then, like I said, I just used half of this wedge of brie, and you just want to slice it into kind of small pieces that fit right in there. Again, nothing specific. You don't have to worry too much about it. It's very, very forgiving. And then top that with your fig jam or whatever you have. This is a great way to just kind of use up some jam that you had in the fridge. Like, I had this left over from something else, so it was a perfect opportunity. I didn't have to go out and buy anything. And then you want to cook these at 400 degrees for about 15 minutes. Obviously, check on them. Very similar to that cinnamon roll casserole. You just don't know about your oven and you just want to see how it's going. But that worked for me. And then you do want to let them sit for a little bit. So I let them sit for about 5 to 10 minutes and cool off. And once they're cool, you can pull them right out of the little silicone cups, and they hold their shape. They have that crispy, crunchy puff pastry with that delicious melted brie cheese and that tang from that jam. And if you had raspberry, I feel like it would look even more festive. So these are perfect for any holiday event. For the next one, we have another super low ingredient one, festive goat cheese balls. These are from the Pioneer Woman. They are so cute with the coloring and so delicious. You want to start off with about 8 ounces of softened goat cheese and 2 ounces of softened cream cheese, and that could just be like on the counter, room temperature. That's going to be fine. And then we're going to mix those together. You can use a stand mixer, or I didn't want to get mine out, so I just used a hand mixer, and it actually worked great. Once this is well mixed, you actually want to place this back in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes until firm. Then you want to finely chop about a half a cup of dried cranberries or craisins and a half a cup of dried pistachios. After that 15 minutes in the refrigerator, you want to scoop the cheese into small balls and then roll your cheese mixture right into the cranberry pistachio mixture to coat completely. And that is it. These are so festive and impressive, and they're relatively simple. They refrigerate really well, so you can make them ahead of time and then set them out for your guests. I was blown away, and I will be serving them at my Thanksgiving and Christmas. For this next one, we're making maple pecan butternut squash and Brussels sprouts. If this isn't the most beautiful dish you've ever seen, I mean, look at those colors. This is absolutely incredible. I'm gonna start by dicing up my butternut squash really small, like really tiny cubes. Then we're gonna slice our Brussels sprouts in half. I'm gonna put those in a bowl, toss those with olive oil, a little bit of nutmeg and ground cinnamon. Then air fry those at 390 degrees for 10 minutes. Then kind of shake them up a little bit, you know, twist them, move them over, and cook them for another like 5 minutes. You just wanna make sure that they're nice and crispy and roasted. So that while those are air frying, we're gonna make up our like candied pecans. I've got 2 tablespoons of butter melting in the pan. I'm gonna mix in a couple tablespoons of maple syrup, about a teaspoon of soy sauce, and then I'm gonna put in pecans, probably about a third of a cup, quarter cup of craisins, and you just want those to get nice and coated and candied. And then we're just gonna pour that whole mixture right over that air fried Brussels sprouts and butternut squash. I love when I make a recipe and I know it's going to be added to my rotation year after year, even though I feel like my favorite recipe list is getting mighty long. But this one will definitely be on the Thanksgiving and maybe even Christmas table this year. It is so fantastic. I made this as a side, but there was so much of it, you know, because it's like a full, you know, thing that you would serve at Thanksgiving, that I was able to eat it for lunch for the next few days. And it was something I looked forward to every single day. It is beautiful. It will make your house smell amazing. You will love it. Speaking of perfect, this is the perfect winter salad. I love to make a salad because you can make it look so beautiful and it doesn't take too much effort, and it's really healthy and delicious. The key is making your own dressing at home. It just makes it a little bit more special. You want to start with a quarter cup of maple syrup, a half a cup of olive oil, or you can use canola oil or whatever your favorite oil is here, a quarter cup of mayonnaise, 3 tablespoons of white wine vinegar, 2 teaspoons of sugar, and then 2 tablespoons of minced shallot. Now, I did have shallot on hand this day, but a lot of times I don't, and I usually just sub out like a onion powder for that, or even like a minced dried onion, or even if you have like a little bit of red onion. I think that the red onion itself is going to be like, it's a little bit stronger, but it's just a little bit of an onion flavor, so you can kind of make it your own. The great thing about a dressing is you can kind of give it a taste once you mix everything up and see how it tastes and see if you want to add a little bit more of this or that, and it's forgiving. You know, if you need to add more, it's okay. If there's something that's overwhelming, you can usually kind of cover it up with a little bit more oil or mayonnaise. Just give that a good stir and your dressing is going to be finished. For the actual salad, you want a quarter cup of thinly sliced red onions, a couple of apples, and I just used what I had, so they were a little bit bruised. Sometimes the kids kind of grab them and then they don't eat them, and you know, it all happens. So I washed them, and there are some bruised parts, but that's okay. I just cut off the bruises that were, you know, serious, and everything tasted great. So you don't need like the top-notch ingredients to make something still taste good. You can even bring it someplace, even if you cut off the pieces of it. Just use what you have. Pear would also be delicious in this. You want 1 cup of pecan halves. If you have them, you could always use like a more chopped up pecan, or you could use some walnuts. I think that would be good too. And then the recipe calls for some dried cherries, but I had some dried craisins, and I mean, is that dried cherries? I'm trying to think. It's dried cranberries. So a little different, but whatever type of dried fruit you want to add to that. And then you can add in your sliced red onion and your sliced apple over the top of this, and then you can just drizzle on your salad dressing. I also think that if you had some like crumbled goat cheese or something like that, this would go great in this. But the wonderful thing about a salad is you can mix it up and always use what you have, and it's still going to look beautiful. I think the key to a salad for a meal like this is to place it on a platter. And when you put your salad on a platter, it looks so gorgeous. It's not like in the bowl, all hidden. Everyone can see it and everybody wants a piece. Now, this corn casserole goes viral on Instagram every year, and people complain because they say it's not a casserole, it's cream corn. Whatever it is, it's amazing. Yes, we love Jiffy corn casserole, but this one is also really, really good and simple. I'm just starting with 1 pound of frozen corn, 2/3 a cup of heavy cream, salt and pepper. You can do like a half a teaspoon of salt and a sprinkle of ground pepper, and 3 tablespoons of melted butter. You just want to mix that all together in your pan and then bake at 350 degrees for about 35 minutes until thoroughly warm through. You can see mine was delicious and bubbly when it came out, and the whole family was obsessed. My husband was absolutely blown away. He's like, this is the best corn. I think he prefers this to the corn casserole. The kids still say the Jiffy corn casserole is their number one, but it's going to be a tough call when it comes time for Thanksgiving and Christmas, because maybe I'll just have to do both or one on each. I'm not sure. And I served it with roasted chicken and stuffing, so it really was kind of like a Thanksgiving meal. It was really, really fabulous. BRIE has the right idea. Next up is another stunningly easy recipe for hot crushed potatoes. You can see how beautiful these potatoes are, but you're going to be shocked at how easy they were to make. You want to start off by bringing a pot of salted water to a boil and then add in as many potatoes as you wish. I just grabbed I think it's like a 1 pound bag of the tiny red creamer potatoes for this. I also think you could use some larger ones if you wanted to. Just might want to cut them up and then kind of smash them down. They won't be exactly the same, but it's a cheaper way to kind of handle the potato situation. You want to cook those until they are fork tender, and then we're going to drizzle a sheet pan with some olive oil and place our potatoes right on top. Now you want to mash your potatoes down gently with a potato masher, and then you want to push the excess kind of back out on top of the potato and then rotate 90 degrees and do that again. So you're kind of mashing it twice, and it really kind of pops open the potato and makes kind of, I don't know, like little like Himalayas, like iceberg type things on it. But it really turns out fabulous because all those little pieces crisp up, and it makes something really unique. And then once those are all mashed, you want to drizzle the tops of each of the potatoes with more olive oil, and then we're going to sprinkle those with kosher salt, black pepper, fresh chopped rosemary, or you can have dried if you have it. You can use chives, you can use thyme, you can use whatever herb you have available, and then a shake of grated Parmesan cheese. You want to bake those at 450 degrees for about 25 minutes until they are golden brown and sizzling, and you are going to see the results. They are going to be so crispy and so yummy. And I think you could take this a step further and really put any type of seasoning that you like or you want on these. It's the method of roasting these potatoes that makes them so amazing. I feel like you could get these ready on a sheet pan ahead of time, put them in the refrigerator, and then roast them when it's comes time for dinner. You place these on a platter when you're serving family and friends, and they are going to look absolutely magnificent. They are such a beauty. Like I said, my husband was obsessed with these, and I'm so excited to make them again someday. Next up is roasted carrots with vinaigrette, and I've never had anything like this, but my mouth is just watering thinking about it. It was so delicious. The original recipe yields enough for 10, and it asked for 5 pounds of carrots, but I decided to use about 2 pounds of carrots because I was just cooking for my own family. You want to cut the carrots into quarters lengthwise and then into 2 to 3 inch pieces, so I kind of like quartered them down the middle, and then I spread them onto a sheet pan and tossed them with olive oil and seasoned salt and pepper. Then you want to bake these at 475 degrees for about 15 minutes, tossing them once or twice, and the carrots are going to be tender and brown along the edges when they're done. And while those are cooking, you want to make your dressing. Start with a 1/4 cup of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of white wine vinegar, 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard, a tablespoon of minced garlic, fresh rosemary if you have it, but you can just use dried. That's what I did. Same thing with thyme leaves, about a half a teaspoon of each, and then a little bit of salt and pepper to taste. This is really a spectacular dressing that gives tons of flavor to this dish, and this is, again, something that I'm really going to consider putting on my Thanksgiving Christmas table. I might just have to have dinner parties all winter long because I have so many good recipes now. Like, these are all worth sharing. I need everyone to know about them. So yeah, you just drizzle on that dressing as you wish, and it is just phenomenal. For this one, we're gonna make pumpkin crunch cake. I'm gonna start with a can of pumpkin, mix in 1 can of evaporated milk, 3 eggs, 1 cup of sugar, and a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. You wanna mix that up really well. I feel like this one took the internet by storm last year, so I'm hoping I can kind of catch on the tail ends of it. So you wanna fill a 13 by 9 with parchment paper. There's like fancy ways to do this on the internet, but I haven't been able to figure it out. So we're gonna pour this in here. Then you want 1 package of yellow cake mix. Then you sprinkle that with 1 package of vanilla pudding mix. Then we're gonna put some chopped walnuts. And 1 cup of melted butter. Just like evenly sprinkle that over as much as you can. We're gonna bake this at 350 degrees for 50 to 60 minutes until it's like fully cooked through. And then once it's fully cooked, there's no jiggle to it. It's, you know, comes out clean with a knife kind of thing. Although maybe it won't because it's kind of soft, but that's okay. You'll know when it's ready. Take it out and then you're gonna let it cool. You want it to be 100% cool before you start putting the frosting on or anything like that. And then you just wanna flip it over. So I just pulled out my parchment paper and then flipped the actual cake over and peeled that off. It's a really satisfying experience. And then you can make the frosting. So that is 1 8-ounce package of cream cheese. You want to make sure it's softened so that you can kind of mix it up. 1 cup of powdered sugar and 3/4 cup of whipped topping. So like Cool Whip, or I just use the Aldi brand. And you just want to mix that with like a hand mixer, or you can use that in your regular mixer. And then you just slather that over the top. And that's why it's so important that the cake is actually cool. But this is incredible. It's amazing because the crunch is actually on the bottom. And the flavors, it's a very, very rich dish. So you probably only want to have like 1, you know, bar, hopefully, if you can keep yourself to that. And, but it's perfect for Thanksgiving or like a potluck this time of year. It's really, really fantastic. I can see why it's viral. For more Friendsgiving or Thanksgiving inspiration, click on this next video and make sure the next time you're on YouTube, you're watching Meals with Maria.